strong collective understanding of some of these larger political and social dynamics behind school reform. Also, how do we build awareness of both the educational and the social benefits of integration? And then how do we really make sure that we are successful in involving and engaging our parents, students, and community as partners in this process so that these efforts are sustained. The goal is not to have a court order in place that mandates diverse and integrated learning environments in perpetuity. It should be a value that our communities uphold and that we pursue beyond the life of court involvement, etc. So why don't we begin, if you don't mind, Donna, do you want to start off?
The group that I'm going to share with you a little bit about that I've been most closely part of and connected to is it's the Parent Leadership Project, which is a collaboration between the Center for Immigrant Families in New York City, a center that's mostly low-income immigrant women of color, and community members such as myself who have been part of the community schools, and together with a Head Start Center, the Bloomingdale Family Program, where many of us, our children, have gone to the Head Start Center together and have continued through the schools together. Our district, which is District 3 in Manhattan, is about 75% students of color, largely low income, and 25% middle upper income, mostly white families. Yet many of our district schools are 80% white and middle class, and some are 98% children of color. The heart of our work is about parents' stories. The work is rooted, talking about, really bring in community. It begins from community. It begins from parents' stories and parents' experiences. Our work is rooted in participatory action research, which basically is that who knows better than community members what are the injustices of a system and how they need to be addressed. And so, rooted in that, we began to address over a few-year period looking at the mechanisms of exclusion, because we started to realize that increasingly people would go to our public schools, and these are schools that didn't have testing or any requirements to get in, and were told a number of things, and the mechanisms we identified, just to give you a few, were people being asked how much you can contribute, knowing full well they meant monetary contributions, being denied translation, even though translation is required by law, being told to go more uptown, where you'll be more comfortable. We really have a two-tiered education system in our district, and there's a line that divides the uptown schools and the downtown schools, even though we have a district that's very easily to travel back and forth. And everyone does it. So after documenting what really, there have been outside researchers coming in and looking at problems in the district, but we've never really had any movement. After identifying hundreds and hundreds of stories of community members who told the stories of how they were excluded from our public schools, and really pushing that out there and getting a lot of visibility, we were able to break what parents call the sort of normalization of, well, this is just the way it is. And everybody knows it's happening, but it's just the way it is. So it's a long struggle, and I can talk more about it as we're going on, but there's been real movement, and we've worked with many groups across the city. We're now working with John Britton and Michael Alves, because parents have come together and after researching a lot of admissions plans, feel that a community-controlled choice policy is what will really be able to affect equity in our community, but that the root of that has to be parents, again, parents at the center, which is why we call it the Community-Controlled Choice Project. And so we're working with legal groups, we're working with David Tipson and New York Appleseed, and the criteria we have is people like David who understand the importance of community, and that it's not about community being asked. People say we were asked, well, what's your view? And then it never made a difference, but that has to be the center of the efforts. So I think that, and in terms of media, and you talk about reaching media, that's also the strategy. Media at times decides what story they want and who they want to talk to. So we have extensive media training. Everybody is involved. So when the media comes, we say these are the spokespeople and their parents and their community members, and we try to reframe it, but also to demand who we want to be the media representatives, and we have found that it has really made a difference in kind of the voices who get out there. And we will not sacrifice, we won't compromise on that. Because it's very easy to say, oh, well, why don't you put so-and-so, they've got their Harvard Law degree, and so the media will pick them up. But that just perpetuates a system where you don't really have it coming out of those voices who are really the ones not only most impacted by the injustices, but are really in the forefront of the movement for change. So if we talk later on, I'd be happy to share kind of where we moved on that, but I think just to start.
Elizabeth, if you could share.
Certainly. Do you mind if I stand? I talk better when I walk.
Please.
Just to begin, I would just like to put something on this board. SheffMovement.org. I'm not going to take time today to talk to you about what we're doing in Connecticut. You could go there, and all the information that you ever wanted to know is there. You heard a little bit about it in the introduction. I would prefer to take this small, precious time that we have together to talk about what we're here to talk about. Particularly, I just want to really hit these 4 questions real quick. You have your thingamabob? Okay, here. Developing a strong collective understanding of the larger political and social context behind school reform efforts. And I don't know about anybody else in this room. Maybe I should start by saying to y'all who don't know me, I'm a straight shooter. I don't do flowery language. I don't do tears. I don't do all that. I'm a straight shooter. And that first question to me clearly speaks to race and class. I don't know why we think that because we have a black president that everything is cool in that quarter. It's not. As a matter of fact, the fact that we have a black president, in my opinion, has made racism in America worse. There's a certain section of Americans who just can't get with it. We have a black president. They don't like it. They're very vocal, and they're very political. Race and class is the cornerstone of what's wrong with education reform in America. Always has been, and unfortunately, it will probably be here. In that way, as I become fodder in a jar. Well, I took my glasses off. That's the problem. I can't see that. Okay. Building awareness of the educational and social benefits of integration. That should be obvious to those of us who are in on the battlefield for quality integrated education. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's not it. A lot of people say, I just want a good education. But they don't quantify what that means. What does that mean? Is getting a good education, getting a good grade? Is that it? Or is getting a good education acquiring knowledge in one situation that you can apply effectively, productively throughout your life in other situations? You know, so what is, I want a good education? And I hear that all the time. For the last 22 years, I hear things like from people of color, we don't need to sit next to the white people to learn, right? And I hear from white folks, oh, they would do better in their own neighborhood, okay? Both are polarized positions that really don't understand that this nation is becoming increasingly more colored, and that if we don't find ways to make this nation a place where we can work and live together, then the quality of life for all Americans will decrease. I've been saying that for 22 years. Can somebody hear me? Okay. You do? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ensuring that parents, students, and community members are valued as partners who directly engage in the problem-solving process. I don't know about where you are, but in Hartford, where the suit was filed, is a very eclectic place. The politics there are very interesting. I'm trying to find a nice word because they're taping me. If they weren't taping me, I'd probably say something.
We can edit it out.
You can edit it out? Okay, they're really messed up. All right? The politics in Hartford, the parents are have been so underserved. Students have been so underserved for so long that the frustration level of parents is over the top. And the Hartford parents can tell you that. Our parents are just, looking, they're grasping at all kinds of straws to try to get their child an education. Ergo, they'll believe the last thing somebody tells them. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Not necessarily do they think things through. They don't ask questions. If it looks good. I mean, I sat on Hartford City Council for 14 years. Please don't hold it against me. I'm retired now. We had a guy come on the EAI, education something, whatever it is. It was a private organization that come to run the schools, right? They're gonna save us from ourselves, right? Guy had on a shark skin suit. Really, seriously. There is a for-profit organization that was going to run our schools. My first question was, we're already an impoverished school system. You want to run our schools, take money out of our schools for your profit. How is that going to help our schools? Did the parents vote for it? Did they go after it? Of course, because they're grasping at straws. So dealing with parents and making sure that the conversation that you heard and that they heard, it takes a lot of communication. A lot of communication, saying things over and over and over again. Even a message like Sheff versus O'Neill that's been around 22 years, the same message, we still have to repeat the basics of what Sheff is all about over and over and over again. Ensuring that parents, students, and community members are invested in the outcomes of integration efforts. We've done that in Hartford through the Sheff movement. We have parents in this room who are a testimony to that fact. And trying to get and keep people engaged, I think, is a two-way street. Because we can keep the information flowing, but parents have to be responsible for being a part of the process. I don't blame racism. I don't blame poor school systems. I don't blame indifferent teachers all by themselves. It's a problem that's a milieu of all those things, plus parents' absence from the process, plus students not being willing to do that. They tell me, well, Miss Sheff, Miss Horton Sheff, they say I try to get good grade. That means I'm acting white. What does that mean? You're acting white. So, I mean, for those of you who have not involved in urban school systems, and those of you who do the research in the room, you need to try to look a little bit deeper into the underlying things that affect our community. Poverty affects our community. You can't talk about educating a child who is not well, who is hungry, who heard gunshots all last night, whose brother is in prison, whose sister got raped, whose mom is a drug addict. I mean, we have so many things that we have to do collectively that all I'm here to tell you is I'm going to do my little part. I'm going to do my part in continuing to do what I do to support quality integrated education. And if each one of us took that thing, that gift that God has given you, and exercise that gift in your own way to make this world better, this place would be better. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Very inspiring. Martha, maybe you can share a little bit about your experience with everyday democracy.
I'm going to stand up too, but not because I'm going to walk like Elizabeth, but because I'm short. I have to say
Elizabeth, what I said that I was listening to 20 years ago, that wasn't metaphorical, was true. And hearing you 20 years ago, which is when I heard you, had a huge impact on me, so thank you.
Thank you.